and good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're safe during these times. Everybody's healthy. You're all staying home probably. I wanted to say here today that we're all making efforts just to prepare and present materials, in the form and through the medium of distance learning education these days, so that you stay safe and healthy at home, and keep up with the work and everything that we present here and throughout the weeks in Prep School Üsküdar University. All right. Today we're going to be talking about the basic structure or the basic organization of essay. As you probably know, so far we've been engaged with different types of opinion paragraphs, but the very foundations of opinion paragraphs set the basics for writing an essay. So let's figure out what an essay involves. Okay, as you can probably see, the organization of an essay kind of has three parts or three central elements. The first part of an essay could be an introduction. The second part is the body paragraphs. And the last part is the conclusion. So let's figure out what an introduction is and how it helps our reader, follow us in the writing composition of an essay. Okay, the introduction has two parts, two main parts here, as you can probably see. The first part is a hook, and the second part is the thesis statement. So let's figure out what a hook is and how it helps our reader follow us throughout the composition of our essay. The hook, as the name suggests, is something to engage the reader, something to help the reader, step into our writing, to understand what the topic is going to be about, or have a general clue, a background idea of what we're going to write in our essay. So let's figure out what a hook should look like in an essay. Imagine you're going to write an essay with this example. Actually, it's a cause type of essay that I've written here. A 5-paragraph essay about the causes of depression. Okay, so the basic thing, the basic type of difference between an essay and a paragraph is that within an essay you're usually asked or required to write 5 paragraphs. But these 5 paragraphs should be distributed, differently and in various forms throughout your essay. As we discussed earlier, the first paragraph is the introduction, and it's going to introduce your idea to the reader, what you're going to write about. So, as you can probably see in the layout here again, the body paragraphs follow the same organization as we have discussed before in our previous lessons about paragraphs. Different types of paragraphs usually start with topic sentences, and the remainder of the paragraph is supporting sentences. These supporting sentences, as we discussed before, are supposed to back up, your topic sentence, which is the main idea of your body paragraph, with different reasons, different examples or facts or kind of details that we're going to discuss here. And at the end of the layout of your organization, the organization of your essay, you're going to present your conclusion to the reader, which is going to be a rewarded thesis statement plus a clincher. So I haven't talked about the thesis statement here because I think it deserves a full explanation here. A thesis statement is the main idea of your whole essay. If you could use this metaphor as the thesis statement could act like the heart of your essay. I mean, everything revolves around your thesis statement. By that I mean the reader can follow your thesis statement and figure out what the topic or what the comment of your whole essay is. So let's figure it out throughout this lesson. In this example, you're going to see an example of causes of depression essay. So basically, let's say I've chosen this topic or this question because in the first week of Birmingham level, we're going to be engaged in writing cause essays. So in cause essays, you're presenting reasons or causes for a phenomenon, for an ongoing debate, for an ongoing issue. So let's just start with our introduction. But before we do anything else, as you probably know, that the basic structure of writing an essay, the basic stages, the basic processes, involve brainstorming first. Brainstorming is an important part of the process of writing a composition or an essay, because by brainstorming you come up with different ideas, different different kinds of materials in your mind that can help you figure out what you're going to write about. So basically, presenting your ideas thoroughly and smoothly within your paragraphs layout depends pretty much on your brainstorming part, which you come up with ideas how to go about writing the process. All right, so I've given it some thought here. As you can probably see, depression could have different causes, like stress, like anxiety, like different things that as not much irrelevant to the situation here these days. The thing is, people are practicing or exercising social distancing as probably a main cause for depression these days for people, or you students, who's staying at home. You're not really allowed, to go out because of the pandemic going on here. So different causes, different reasons could lead us to get depressed. So here I have tried to categorize and classify different reasons into three main categories, as you can probably see here. The first one I have called, or I have named, interpersonal factors. So what do I mean by interpersonal factors? As a definition goes, variables among people and their relationship to one another, for example, social isolation, low quality relationships, and etc. So what do I mean with that? Interpersonal, literally means between people. It means something that could be affected by the relationship between people or among a community. So, if I'm talking to a person, or if I'm having this relationship to another person, usually this type of relationship is referred to as interpersonal. So, the second item here, as you can probably see, as opposed to interpersonal factors, called intrapersonal factors. It means that what I'm trying to say is not related to people socially or psychologically. It's within the individual. For example, I'm having a stress because of an exam, or I'm experiencing anxiety because something bad happened to me, and etc. The last category, as you can probably see, the environmental factors, is going to tap into the kind of experiences, dramatic or strategic experiences that kind of affect the climate of our lives in a negative way. Maybe earthquakes or floodings, different types of natural disasters, or as what we're experiencing these days, the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic, is a kind of thing that is caused from the outer circle of our social life, something called environmental factor. So, as you can probably see here, I have given and presented some types of examples, variables that come from the outer circle of an individual, for example, earthquake, poverty, epidemics, as what we're experiencing these days, and etc. So all of these factors are caused from the outer social circle of individuals, and I've named them here environmental factors. All right, so the very beginning of an essay, I've given the example here because, as you can probably know, the introduction is the most important part of an essay. Why do I believe so? The question is not very simple, but the answer, I think, is very simple here, because the introduction carries the thesis statement, the heart of your essay, which is going to be the very main idea of what you're going to write about. So, I've talked about hook briefly at the beginning of our presentation today. The hook, or as some references call it or name it, the motivator, something to motivate and engage the reader as the reader is going through your writing. If suppose that I'm, for example, reading a newspaper, if I'm reading, for example, your composition, I have to be engaged enough to follow up on what you've written about. So it's very imperative that I have given the reader something to engage with. So let's look at my typical hook here, as the example goes. Living in 21st century, aside from the joy and comfort that technology progress and its products leaves us with facing serious challenges, the most common form of such times could be depression. So, have I introduced the topic here? Of course not. So, but the point here is the reader is going to have a wild guess or a clue as what I'm going to write about. So, probably I'm going to write about depression. The topic is depression, but what controlling idea or what controlling comment should I add to this depression? The reader is going to follow my reading as progressing through my composition and understand or have a clue what controlling idea can I add or I can attach to this type of hook here. So the thesis statement says or goes like, it has become one of the most widespread illnesses in modern life and can be explained through interpersonal, intrapersonal, and environmental factors. So, do you remember the brainstorming part that we discussed earlier? This brainstorming, gave me the clue as what to write in my thesis statement. As you can see, the typed words in red or bold, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and environmental factors. These factors I tried to come up with in the previous stage of brainstorming, which helped me to write a draft of the thesis statement which is acceptable to my reader when following the composition. The thing here, when you look at the thesis statement, it bears clues as the question, exactly the clues as the question was written before. It's like an affirmative, statement converted from the question form of the topic. So the question was, what were or what are the causes of the essay? So here, I've tried to convert it, to turn it into a thesis statement. As the name suggests, a statement is not a question, it's not interrogative form. So the question has turned into a statement to clarify to the reader that this is now a sentence in the form of a statement which is going to introduce the main idea of my essay. So it has become one of the most widespread illnesses in modern life, and it can be explained through interpersonal, intrapersonal, and environmental factors. The names that I have given, through the means of a thesis statement here are optional. You can, avoid it. It depends pretty much on your style as a writer, but it's optional either to include them or to leave them out when you're writing your thesis statement. If you do so, as I have done here, it is called the blueprints of your essay. So your thesis statement with blueprints is an optional way to go about it. Let's move on. Okay. As you progress through the composition of your essay, afterwards you're bumping into body paragraph 1 here. I have not really given a lot of information about the body paragraph, as you are all familiar with the concept and basic structure and organization of your body paragraph. The very first sentence of any paragraph, body paragraph I mean here, is the topic sentence. So, as we talked before, the thesis statement carries the main idea of your whole essay. The difference between an essay and a paragraph is the main idea of a paragraph or a body paragraph is within the topic sentence, which is the very beginning in your body paragraph. So, I have given an example here, as you can probably see. Low quality interactions of people with their social circle can sometimes result in depression. So, as you have probably heard a lot, from different teachers and tutors writing, we tend to try some paraphrasing techniques, some restatement techniques in order to avoid, repetitions, just going on with the same vocabulary, with the same grammatical structures over and over during an essay. So I have given it some flavor here. What is it? As you can probably see, the word interaction has replaced the kind of relationships that people have with one another. And as I had defined earlier, it's the interpersonal factor or interpersonal relationships. So why did I do so? The question here is that the answer here is that I have tried to add some variety of expression to my language, to my discourse here, which is a very basic to do when you're writing composition. Imagine you're just repeating words over and over during or throughout your essay. It gets the reader bored with your essay. So I have tried to, keep it engaging, as engaging as possible for the reader to follow. And I have used some different words to replace the old versions of words like depression, like relationships. Interaction could be a good match for this topic sentence. So low quality interactions or bad interpersonal, for example, relationships of people with their social circle can sometimes result in depression. So as you probably know, the basic thing about writing a body paragraph is to develop your topic sentence. With, you back it up with different reasonings, with different ideas, examples, sometimes facts, sometimes narrative descriptions, stuff like that. So, can you look at my example here? As you can see, the sentences below is the topic sentence we came up earlier with. Low quality interactions of people with their social circle can sometimes result in depression. What follows are my supporting sentences. Extreme engagement of individuals in social media, as well as sedentary lifestyle that our modern life has imposed on us, has absolutely moved us away from exercising good social habits. So, as you can probably see, this is just one sentence, and the name suggests supporting sentences. I mean, it has to be a plural. For that to happen, I have to at least add one sentence to these descriptions here. Developing poor interpersonal skills can seriously affect our chances of making new friends and even keeping such relationships as healthy as possible. This situation will in turn take us through a mode of depression. Alright, so as you can probably see here, I have tried to back up my topic sentence, the main idea of my body paragraph number 1, with different reasons, examples or descriptions as to, just try to support in a scaffolded way what the topic sentence is trying to say here. All right. This is not something new to you because you have already exercised and practiced body paragraph structure before in the previous modules. So I'm going to cut it short here. Let's give you some mental practice here, guys. The body paragraph 2 is elaborated here, established, but the topic sentence is missing. I'm going to give you a couple of seconds just to read my supporting sentences and guess what my topic sentence could be. All right, let's go through the sentences, one by one together. These psychological issues can include stress, anxiety, personality disorders, which might get people even closer to a state of depression. Some problems often originate in a person's private life and can have dramatic effects on their mood. Work, for example, plays a significant role in driving up levels of stress in individuals and ultimately pushing them into loneliness. So as you can probably guess here, these examples I have elaborated on here, give clues as intrapersonal factors I discussed earlier in the layout of the organization of our essay. So my best guess for this topic sentence could be intrapersonal factors could also play a part in, for example, leading us into a state of depression or something like that. Let's see the example here. This is my topic sentence, is elaborated here. Intrapersonal variables could also lead to people getting depressed. As you can probably see, it can cover intrapersonal factors, the factors which are within an individual. They got nothing to do with the outer social circle of individuals. They are maintained or sustained within individuals. All right, let's move on with body paragraph number 3. And the brainstorming part, as we discussed before, we were supposed to write a body paragraph, which was body paragraph number 3, about environmental factors. You know, factors that could be created through natural disasters, things outside, our social lives, things which are not controlled by us. The pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic you're experiencing these days is one of them, or could be interpreted as one of them, because it is not something that we can control. So it's definitely leaving us with serious challenges of depression, but we have to try to stay as healthy and fresh as possible to mitigate those risk factors. All right, let's not get into details with that. Environmental factors here, but thing is, I've left it as homework for you to do, guys. I'm not going to do paragraph number 3, and I'm expecting your homework on this paragraph in a couple of days. This is not bad news, I hope, for you, but you could just give it a try, because you have kind of practiced paragraphs or layout or the organization of paragraphs before, and it's something easy for you, something like an easy task for you to do. All right. But here, the conclusion, I think, deserves attention, as this is something new. This is the first time you're facing a conclusion and the layout of an essay. So, as we discussed before, the conclusion had 2 parts. Can you remember it? The first part was a rewarded thesis, or a rewarded thesis statement. So, what does that mean? The paraphrasing type of, strategy or skill that we have learned so far helps develop a rewarded thesis statement. I mean, presenting your thesis statement with the same meaning, semantically, but with different words. So, let's see what I've done here. As a cohesive device, I've started, my conclusion with all in all to give clues to the reader to find himself or herself at the end of my essay. All in all, depression is not always caused by a sole factor, but could be a consequence of a combination of different variables, such as interpersonal, intrapersonal, and environmental. So, you can guess, yes, that was my rewarded thesis statement. My thesis statement rewarded or phrased differently here. I wanted to avoid repetition. I wanted to add some flavors to it. I wanted to have some variety of expressions. That's why I changed the grammatical or lexical structure of my rewarded thesis statement here. Okay, so what's the rest? Let's read it first. The way people deal with their inner and outer circle, both socially and psychologically, can to a great extent impact on their mental health. So, as you probably remember, the last part, or the second part of your conclusion was supposed to be the clincher. Clincher, or as some references name it, the finisher, is something to help the reader understand or figure out they are at the end of your essay. Something to leave the reader reflecting on, something to leave the reader thinking about what you're trying to say, to finish your essay in a good way and engaging as possible. So here I've given the reader something like a reflection of depression here to think about, to give clues as the reader find himself or herself at the end of my essay. So there is one point I'd like to mention here, which is, I think, deserves attention, great attention here. As you can probably remember, in the organization and layout of your paragraphs, you had to add a concluding sentence at the end of each paragraph. But here, we didn't find such a thing today here. In the essay, as you can probably see, there is a conclusion paragraph which deserves attention, or pays special attention to the concluding statement or the concluding part of your essay. You don't need to add a concluding sentence at the end of each paragraph, each body paragraph of your essay. So you leave that part to this paragraph that stands alone as a concluding part of your essay. All right, guys, that could be the end of our presentation today. I hope you learned how to, lay out different parts of an essay, different paragraphs, how to distribute and, spread words throughout your essay. I hope you enjoyed it and it was helpful to you. And once again, I'd like to thank you for watching us and stay safe. Thank you so much.